Hi, this is Tom Needham, and you're listening to The Sounds of Film, and I'm very excited to have on the phone with us right now legendary actor William H. Macy. He's the director of an incredible new movie out on DVD and Blu-ray called Rudderless. He's the star of TV Shameless, as well as many other movies, including Fargo, Magnolia, and Boogie Nights. And we're going to be speaking about Rudderless and his career tonight on The Sounds of Film. Thank you, William, for joining us on The Sounds of Film.
It's my pleasure, Tom. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's talk a little bit about Rudderless. This is a movie about a dad who deals with the loss of his son by playing music that he finds was recorded by his son before he died. What made you want to do this movie? You directed it. It's your first major debut as a director.
The music that you speak of is a big part of the film, and I've always loved music. It's a big part of my life. I can play a whole bunch of different instruments poorly, but I'm loud. So music's a big deal to me. There's a piano in the house. We sing all the time. My daughters sing. My wife's got a lovely voice. We sing. We play guitar. We write stupid songs on ukuleles. We just have a grand old time. Music has always been near and dear. I'm a child of the 60s. This story is about something. As you said, it's about a father loses his son to shooting violence. There's sort of a stunning reveal halfway through about that, and it's about the ancillary cost that we bear with this idiotic violence that we have in our world. It's redemptive, and it's funny in places.
It absolutely is. This is a big decision to go into directing. Why did you want to make that move?
I'm sort of in my third act, as my wife puts it, when it comes to this career, and I like telling the whole joke myself, as opposed to just getting to chip in part of the joke.
Yeah.
I want to tell the punchline. I want to do the whole thing. I've always fancied myself something of a raconteur. Usually it's better when I'm a little lubricated, but I love to tell stories. And, I don't know, I've been acting for a long, long time. I tell you, I was right to try it because one of the benefits of directing Rudderless, and there have been many, but I haven't felt that alive in a long, long time. And I absolutely fell in love with this business all over again. You got a perspective as a director. I mean, really, you're just looking at the whole machine that we built to make these little movies, all these people, and it's quite moving.
Yeah. You talked about your love of music and that you have music all over your house. When you saw the script for this movie, did you know exactly what the music was going to sound like right away, or did you have to kind of search to find the music?
No. That was a frightening sort of decision to have to make. I hired a musical supervisor named Liz Gallagher, who is lovely and a rootin' tootin' genius, and she put the word out in the indie world, and there were a lot of submissions. People responded to the script. I wrote out a sort of what I was looking for. I said pop songs without apology. I said, pop songs, I want them to be catchy. I want you to be able to remember the hook after hearing just one time. I said I wanted them to be complicated. I wanted a bridge and a chorus and a middle eight, as the Beatles used to say. I wanted the lyrics to be wry and humorous and whimsical and not about the movie at all. I said they could write about anything they wanted, but not about the movie.
So it was almost like you were a director for the music.
Yeah, and so we put placeholders in the script, and we sort of described it. We thought, as we sent it out, and we said, it'd be nice to have a song maybe about revenge here, or something about your shoes, song to the shoes. I don't know.
Yeah. Were there any other movies that you looked to for inspiration that had a lot of music in them?
I looked at a lot of them, yeah. Maybe not like some directors would, but 3 or 4. And, I'll admit it, Almost Famous was Wait, what's Billy's movie?
Yeah, Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Yeah.
And a couple of others. And this is what I took from them. I thought, well, sometimes some of these movies that I really enjoyed, when I really thought about it, the soundtrack just didn't kill me. And I thought, I can't afford to do that because this kid, upon whom the whole film rests, we only get to see him in a couple of scenes in the beginning. It's his personality.
Yeah.
So there was a heavy load laid on these 6 or 7 songs.
Well, it really works, and I congratulate you on selecting the music. It must give you some pride that the soundtrack is doing quite well right now.
Yes, it is. It's Simon Stedman and Charlton Pettis were the two guys. I heard one of their songs early on, and I guess the scariest thing was I said, okay, that's one of the songs, because I was under a lot of pressure to choose these songs.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's the song, and it's that song, Home.
I love that song.
Billy sings at the very beginning.
Yeah, that's a
So
that's a
from
perfect
there,
song.
I listened to some of their other songs, and finally I just said, okay, these are the guys. And I asked them for everything they had, and they sent me that, and they wrote a couple of songs. There's one song by a guy named Fink, a band named Fink, a guy named Finn. He wrote Over Your Shoulder. The rest were Charlton and Simon, and they're very pleased that it's doing well on iTunes also.
Well, I'm sure it's going to bring a lot of people to the movie that haven't seen it yet. We're speaking with William H. Macy. He's the director of Rudderless. You also appear in the movie. And, I was just kind of curious. You've been in so many great movies through the years, and we are talking about music right this minute. Are there any soundtracks to the movies that you've been in that are your personal favorites, or any musical moments in movies that you've acted in that are ones that you look back on fondly?
Yeah, good for you. Good, excellent question. Wayne Kramer directed The Cooler.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept saying, Bill, the score. Wait till you hear the score. He's from South Africa. I can't do a South African. Forgive me, everybody in South Africa. Wait till you hear this. And I finally said, dude, if you think the score is going with the movie, we're in a lot of trouble. Well, find the silly goose in this picture. He put that score on it, and it elevated, it changed the film, it elevated the film, it elevated the moments that didn't work before became my favorite in the whole movie. It's a genius score. It's so lush.
Yeah.
And rich. You know what else? Paul Anderson.
Yeah.
He put the one in Magnolia, it's a lovely score, and the way we all sing that Amy Mann song.
Yeah, that's classic.
The characters, that makes me weak in the knees when I think of that.
So, you've had a lot of moments through the years. You mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson. If we can kind of go and take a look at your career just a little bit. When you decided that you were going to direct this movie, you've worked with so many legends, including Paul Thomas Anderson and the Coen brothers and David Mamet, just to name a few. What did you get from those experiences as an actor? But viewing these directors, was there anything that you took from those three or any other directors you want to mention that when you decided that you were going to make Rudderless, you were like, I'm going to try and do this?
Well, I think, sure, the answer is a lot and perhaps even everything. But I can't parse it out as to what I took from each one. I mean, the relationship, first, between an actor and a director, by its very nature, you see the director in a very specific way. Mm. And you see a very specific part of what he does altogether, he or she does altogether. And I don't think much can prepare you for directing. It's like getting hit by a train, man. It's an overwhelming amount of work, and I am sure that I, as many first-time directors, expended twice the amount of energy that I really needed to get the same amount of work done. But it's hard to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
I love Paul. Talking PTA, he's got this joy on the set that he loves to make movies, and it's infectious. and he has an indefatigable knowledge of film. He's seen everything. And you mentioned Dave Mamet. He's, I guess if I imprinted on anyone, it's Dave more than anyone else. The way he runs the set, his humor, his courtly manner with the people on the set. I've seen him say hello to 16 extras in the morning and say good night 12 hours later by name. I mean, he gets everybody's names, and he loves jokes and stuff. I try to do that. You need a little more budget than Rudderless had to do too many jokes. I was just trying to keep my head above water, but he's just a hoot to work for.
Wow, so it's interesting that you would say that in both cases, one of the things that you learned is that one's attitude on the set makes a great deal to others, and the way that they treat their crew and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Director is when you direct a film and you look behind you, there ain't nobody there. It's you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what a big studio picture is. I mean, maybe that's different, but certainly for an indie of this nature, there's nobody else.
You know, you mentioned that it was overwhelming and that it just takes so much out of you to direct. And you're not the first person who I've spoken to has said that. For people that are listening to this right now, you know, they're hearing you talking about directing Rudderless. Why is it so demanding? I don't think a lot of people get it. Can you explain a little bit?
Sure. It's you have a period of pre-production where everyone is hired and available to you as the director. And that's usually a month or so, or in my case on Rudderless, 4.5 hours. I'm joking. And in that time, you create the whole world. You have to pick your locations, and those that you don't have, they might have to build some stuff. And there are hundreds of questions all the time just with that. What kind of lights do you want? What color? What about this? Where's the door? There's location scouts to find these things. You find the perfect spot, you can't have it, so you go out and you find something else. You spend your life in a van, and then you're on the phone the entire time because there's a lot of costumes. You know, it's just 1,000 questions. And on one hand, it's great fun, but you will live with those questions for the rest of your life. Why did I put her in an orange dress in front of an orange wall? Who was home that day the decision was made, you know? And you're very aware that these answers you're giving, you're going to live with her for the rest of your life. But you got to make them kind of off the cuff and quick. And I guess the day is in prep is 12 hours, just like a regular shooting day, but really it's usually 14 hours a day, and you work 6 days when you're in prep. So you're just a grease spot at the end of the day. It's, for me, an actor, I mean, my purview is seconds. I hang around in my nice trailer where I've hung pictures, and I have a kettle going, and I walk in, and I do this scene, you know, and everybody else has been working, and I'm not saying we don't work hard as actors, but my purview is so small, and, you know, little moments. And then you're the director, and your purview is the entire world, and it looks exactly as you tell people to make it look.
You know, as you look back at your experience directing Rudderless, what would you say that you enjoyed the most about the experience, and what was the thing that maybe you didn't love so much?
I loved the prep. I actually did. The aforementioned world that you have to build.
Yeah.
I really dug it. And it started to grow, you know, as I made decisions, other decisions became clearer. It's really fun to see a production office. There are all these, just as hard as the director is working, there are about 30 other people that are working just as hard or harder.
Sure, yeah.
All day. So there are all these offices, and you've got costumes over there, and you've got props here, and they're just running around. And there's great humor, and meeting after meeting after meeting. I loved that world, and I loved that whole process. I had to talk to myself a little bit about sitting down between takes, I was running around like a chicken, and I had to constantly talk to myself about being calm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't make it through the day, and I was just getting in people's way too. I mean, it's clear, and really, I had to talk to myself about think ahead, just don't walk around in circles.
That's interesting. You not too long ago, you narrated a film, a documentary, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. And, that film took a look at a special moment in Hollywood history where they made films, smaller movies by great directors, character-driven films, and about the changes that took place eventually in Hollywood. And I was wondering, since you've made that movie, how has Hollywood changed, and how does a film like Rudderless fit into that world?
Well, they were talking about, the subtitle of that is, and if it's not, it should be, when the lunatics took over the asylum.
Yeah.
It spoke of a time when Hollywood, for many, many reasons, just kind of, the hierarchy sort of fell apart. I think it started with Easy Rider or something like that. That film just made $100 million, and everybody, all the studio heads, the way they'd been making movies, everyone went, and so the actors stepped into the breach, and in a sort of a drug-fueled couple of years, turned out some wacky movies.
Yeah.
Some of them great, a lot of trash probably that we don't know about, but some great, great films. How has it changed now? It's sort of corporate still. You got to prove that you can make the money back, and that's part of the director's job, putting these things together. Or at least apparently it is. I'd love to get to a point where I don't have to do that. But there's a business to it, and I don't hate it. I sort of dig the business because ultimately it's about putting asses in seats, and I love the notion that let the audience speak. They're never wrong, and I think they're lovely to serve. I grew up in the theater. I have a good relationship with the audience.
You're one of those special people that seems to just have a really healthy attitude about it, and you're able, it seems, to do really great, critically acclaimed work that somehow also is often commercial. And I was wondering, what's your secret? You just, I'm sure people tell you that all the time. People are probably dying to hear, have the career that you have, where it's just the best of both worlds, it seems, from an outsider's point of view.
Oh, crikey. Well, make no mistakes. My day-to-day is a hot mess, just like everybody else in the world. And I don't know, I think I was born in the South, started my career in Chicago. I've known lots of different people. I feel like I have somewhat Catholic tastes. I've always felt I think it's funny. Other people think it's funny. I've been lucky, like you can't believe it. Just right guy at the right time. I will give myself for not quitting, give myself credit for not giving up. I don't know, I'm a lucky guy, what can I tell you?
Yeah. If you didn't end up going into the entertainment business, do you think there's something else that you might have ended up doing?
Oh, that's a kind of horrifying thought. I don't really have any marketable skills. Maybe I would have been a woodworker, although I'm the worst carpenter I've ever met, and I'm not just being self-deprecating.
Getting back to Rudderless, it's a great film about music, but as you mentioned earlier, you also deal with some serious issues in the movie. One of them being the issue of violence in our society, and the type of violence that often makes it into the media in a very kind of spectacular way. What made you want to kind of tackle that subject, and what are your views a little bit further on that?
The particular violence that we deal with, which is gun violence at schools, I don't know, and I think it'd be presumptuous to do a movie where you propose what the problem might be. I don't know. But I was attracted to the idea of telling a story about this dad and his life and the results of this violence. And we did it in a particular way. And I guess it's what was appealing to us was that it felt like uncharted territory where we ended up going with the thing.
Yeah.
Scared us to death, us being Jeff and Casey and me. Those guys wrote it. I guess it's that. It felt like a true story, and it felt like a story that I hadn't seen before.
Well, I agree, and I think you handled it really spectacularly. It's a very moving movie, and I hope that our listeners check out Rudderless. It's on Blu-ray and DVD, Paramount Home Video. William, I know you have to get going, but as you look back on your career, you've done so many different things, starred in so many amazing roles, television and film. Now you're directing. What is it that you most hope that people will remember about you?
Crikey, man. Sounds like a eulogy. I was going to stick around for a while longer. Is that okay?
Well, sure.
Okay, good.
But still, yeah, I'm sure you will work for much longer.
I really can't answer that. I don't know. I don't care what it is. It's sooner or later you're applying your trade. I do what I do. I tell the stories that interest me, or I agree to be in the stories that interest me. I try to act truthfully. I try to be simple. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I try to have fun. I like to have fun on a set. I'm in a period now where, I've got, my kids are 12 and 14, and I really am having fun. Believe it or not, yeah, 12-year-old girl, and
yeah.
It is a hoot.
Yeah, I have one too.
I'm digging that. Yeah, girls, man.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I just wish I knew where they came from.
Do they want to get into business too?
Unclear. I tell you, they could if they wanted, because they are a treat to watch.
Well, William, I want to thank you so much for joining us on The Sounds of Film. And as I said earlier, I hope everyone checks out Rudderless. Congratulations on this directing job, and you did a really fine job.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.